Everything you desire already exists in an unseen realm. Wealth, opportunity, ideas, all waiting for someone bold enough to claim them. But to understand this, you must understand the law of substance, the law that turns the invisible into the visible.
This is part 2 of the story. Viewers should watch part 1 first. Link in the description. I didn't sleep much after my first conversation with the old man. His words replayed in my mind long after the lanterns dimmed and the streets quieted. "You are meant to be rich," he had said, looking at me with eyes that felt impossibly ancient, as though he had seen the rise and fall of empires and the private struggles of 1,000 lost young men. For the first time in my life, I had felt something open inside me, a door I didn't even know existed. And yet, the next morning, doubt returned, creeping back like cold mist under a doorway. What if he was wrong? What if he had simply said something comforting, something poetic? But then I remembered, nothing about him had felt accidental. Not his timing, not his presence, not the strange serenity that seemed to follow him like a quiet companion. I needed answers. And so, before dawn, I found myself walking the winding path toward the tea house where he had told me to meet him again. As the world slowly warmed in pre-sunrise gold, something shifted in me. I felt, and I did not understand this at the time, that I was not just walking toward another conversation. I was walking toward a new version of myself.
As the young man approached the ridge where the tea house stood, something else occurred. The moment the story itself widens, as though the lens zooms out. From this point forward, the tale speaks not only through his eyes, but from the perspective of the world that surrounds him. The mountains, the wind, the old man whose existence seemed stitched from mystery and clarity alike. This was the moment the story shifts into third person, not to distance the viewer, but to reveal a broader truth. The golden path is larger than one man's understanding. It is a lineage of wisdom. And the next lesson, the law of substance, was waiting. The old man was already seated outside the tea house when the young man arrived. As always, he wore his simple dark robe, patched carefully by a hand that valued repair over vanity. His hair, long and silver, was tied at the back with a strip of faded cloth. He did not greet the young man with words. Instead, he gestured to the empty seat beside him. The sunrise stretched across the valley like pouring honey, painting the clouds with threads of gold. The old man waited until the light fully touched the young man's face before he spoke. "So, you returned," he said, sipping his tea. "I said I would," the young man replied. The old man murmured. "Many say what they do not do." He let that settle. Then, with the calm authority of someone who taught more through silence than language, he continued. "Let us begin your second lesson. But first," he turned to face the young man directly. "Have you watched the beginning of the path? The first step? Have you kept the perspective you gained yesterday?" The young man hesitated. "I tried." "You must do more than try," the old man replied gently. "You must commit, for what you learn next will only make sense if you walk the path in order." He gestured to the valley below. "Knowledge builds upon knowledge. You cannot understand the sky before you understand the ground." A faint smile touched his face. "So, you are ready to learn the law of substance?" The young man nodded. "Good, but understand, this law is older than kingdoms, older than gold, older than the stories carved into stone. and you must accept this truth." The old man tapped the young man's chest. "Everything comes from one infinite, intelligent substance." The old man rose and walked to the low wall overlooking the valley. "Tell me," he said, "when you look at the world, what do you see?" The young man answered carefully, "Houses, markets, fields, roads, people." "Good. Now tell me something else." The old man pointed at a stone lantern nearby. "How did this lantern come to be?" "Well," the young man began, "someone carved it from stone." "And before he carved it?" The young man thought. "The stone was in the mountain." "And before it was stone?" the old man asked. The young man opened his mouth, then slowly closed it. The old man smiled. "There, you see, you have already stepped into the mystery." He turned toward the horizon. "At the base of all things, long before form, long before shape, long before any object becomes what it becomes, there is substance, one living, thinking, responsive substance." The young man frowned slightly. "You mean like energy?" The old man chuckled. "Close, but not quite. Energy simply moves things. Substance creates them." He placed a hand on the young man's shoulder. "This substance is the foundation of all abundance, all wealth, all opportunity. Everything you seek and everything you will ever create begins there." He paused. "Most people believe wealth is scarce, that they must compete, fight, scrape, and hoard to get what they want." He shook his head. "But they do not see reality. Not truly." The old man lifted one hand and let the morning breeze slip between his fingers. "Reality is abundant. Reality is overflowing. Reality is generous beyond measure." He stepped back and met the young man's eyes. "You are not fighting for resources. You are forming them." They walked the descending path behind the tea house, the mountains standing guard around them. Birds stirred the branches overhead. The young man spoke first. "So you're saying that wealth isn't something we take, but something we create? From this substance?" The old man nodded. "Yes, but understand this clearly." He paused on a footbridge, letting the sound of running water fill the moment. "You do not create it from nothing. You shape it from something infinite. There is a difference." The young man leaned on the wooden rail. "It's hard to imagine." "That is because you have been raised to believe the world is limited, that opportunities are rare, that there is not enough for everyone." The old man's voice softened. "That belief alone keeps more people poor than any external circumstance." He lifted a small pebble from the ground and held it up. "Suppose you desire a house, a business, a new skill, a life of abundance. People think they must take that house, take that business, take that opportunity from someone else." He dropped the pebble into the stream. "But the universe does not work like a marketplace. It works like a spring." He gestured toward the flowing water. The more you draw from it, the more it produces. Then he added, "The law of substance says, everything you desire already exists in potential form. Your role is not to compete. Your role is to create." The young man let the idea sink in. "But how do I create from substance? How do I make something real?" The old man smiled. "That," he said, "is the next lesson." They continued walking until they reached an old shrine, overgrown yet elegant, its stone pillars worn smooth by years of wind and time. The old man stopped. "This place will help you understand," he said. He placed both hands together in a meditative gesture. "Substance responds to thought." He let the words hover. "Thought is the sculptor. Substance is the marble." The young man inhaled sharply. "So my thoughts shape reality?" The old man nodded. "But not just any thoughts. Only thoughts of creation. Never thoughts of competition." He walked around the shrine slowly. "Imagine two men standing side by side. One believes the world is abundant. He imagines possibilities, takes steps forward, acts with confidence." He placed a hand on one of the pillars. "This man attracts opportunities because he sees them everywhere." He moved to the opposite side. "The other man believes the world is limited, that opportunities are few, that everyone else is a rival." He tapped the pillar lightly. "This man sees nothing but obstacles, and so, even when opportunity knocks, he is blind to it." He returned to the young man. "Their external world looks the same, but their internal world is entirely different, and so their lives become entirely different." The old man motioned for the young man to follow him to a quiet clearing behind the shrine, where wildflowers grew in gentle clusters. "Look at this." He pointed to the ground. Between the flowers, small patches of soil lay ready for new seeds. "Substance is like fertile earth," the old man said. "Thought is the seed. Action is the nurturing." He knelt and touched the soil. "Plant a seed of fear, and you grow a thorn. Plant a seed of lack, and you grow scarcity. Plant a seed of creation, and you grow abundance." Then he looked up. "But you must remember something crucial." His voice deepened. "You cannot plant a garden today and harvest it tomorrow. The universe gives generously, but never impatiently." He stood. "Your role is to trust the process, to plant rightly, to nurture consistently, and to believe in the harvest before it appears." As they returned to the path, the young man felt something inside him change. A thought so clear it startled him. All his life he had believed wealth belonged to a different kind of person. Someone lucky, someone chosen, someone born into advantage or surrounded by connections. But now he understood. The source of wealth had nothing to do with lineage, luck, or circumstance. It had to do with alignment, with thinking in a way that matched the abundant nature of reality. He turned to the old man. So, if I think the right way, if I imagine what I want, believe it's possible, and act without fear, I can create wealth? The old man nodded. You can create whatever you are willing to claim. The young man exhaled deeply. Then teach me how to claim it. The old man smiled, soft and proud. That is why we continue this journey. You have taken your second step on the golden path. Next, we walk the third. The young man did not yet know it, but this lesson, the law of substance, would become the foundation for everything that came after it. It would shape the decisions he made, the opportunities he recognized, and the confidence with which he stepped into a new life. The golden path was only beginning. And this was part 2 of that journey. If this teaching spoke to you, don't miss the next chapter. Like, comment, and follow Tale Ember so you'll be notified when part 3 is released, and so you won't miss any of the stories that may change your life. Continue the journey. The link to part 1 is in the description.